Hello, everybody. Welcome back to SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom. In this part, we beat the game, or at least we beat the game as far as I'm willing to. You do get a slightly different final cutscene if you get 100%, but I'm not gonna be bothered.
Is it?
Not that
You're not me.
Is it like? Is it like SpongeBob's sidekick looking at a shiny thing and going, "Wow, what is it?"
No, it's not.
No.
Basically, the only difference is that at the end of the cutscene in this version, it's basically just Sandy goes, "There's still robots out there," and then SpongeBob's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna beat all the robots," and they just don't do that in the 100% cutscene. It's not really that interesting. It's on the internet if you really want to see it. This boss fight's actually relatively difficult.
What is with the toasty fish?
He's commentating over the
That's
match.
our job.
He's a realistic fish head here at the Fry Cook Games.
Yeah.
When will he learn?
Who could forget that jerk, Mr. Krabs?
Jeez. I'm also reminded of the egg golem from Sonic Adventure 2 in this fight because they have all this perilous platforming in a circular arena, but if you fall, you just land underneath and there's hell.
You know when the
back up.
ankle and world karate padding?
Yeah. I mean, it would have made about as much sense.
Or did he
I
just
guess.
did he just shout karate at you?
Yeah.
Yes.
Karate.
And he shouts it so loud that it hurts you if it hits you.
See, it's karate.
This game is great.
Yeah. And this boss fight's also surprisingly tricky. Before I had done this recording, I'd actually never made it here before. Because as a kid, I always just kind of gave up or got bored around the third act of the game. So I just never got this far. I had never beaten either SpongeBob, either of the two good 3D SpongeBob games. I shouldn't say that because there might be other ones that are good that have been released later that I haven't played. But when I say the two good ones, I mean this and the movie game. I hadn't beaten either of them until about a year ago when I was just like, you know what, I've never actually beaten this. And I had found the speedrun of SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom on SGDQ. I think it was either that year or the year before, and that speedrun's amazing. So I was just inspired to finally go back to beat the game, and I figured I might as well record it if I'm doing that anyway. So yeah. But yeah, it's tough not because any one attack is all that difficult. It's just that you're gonna get hit eventually because there's a lot of different stuff to deal with, and it's a long fight. So it's just kind of a you have to make sure that you don't make enough mistakes over a long enough period of time. And I'm not good enough at video games to play that well for an extended period. Not to mention that every time you mess
fall
up,
down, it looks like it resets the pattern.
yeah, well, basically, you get a chance to do damage to it after you dodge enough karate chops. So those attacks that he did right there, he'll karate chop a couple of times. And if you can get a few jumps in, he'll do that karate chop, and then he'll just stand there for a moment because, I don't know, his programming's on a coffee break. So then you get a chance to do a cruise bubble at him. I mean, theoretically, I guess you could do one during other points in the pattern as well, but that would require being good at video games, which I'm not. You're also kind of intended to hit the robot plankton. I also definitely hit that button there, but whatever game, we won't count that. I'm not bitter. If you're supposed to hit the robot plankton in order to get a second. Oh my god, really? Oh my, I forgot.
That one looked like you missed.
No, but what happened
No,
was he got up
he-
immediately
right
before I would have hit him, is what happened there. So I'm just annoyed that he picked absolutely that time. You know?
You don't. I don't remember, but I don't think you have to wait for it to get its arm stuck.
No, but
I
it's
think you
safer.
can hit it at any time, but it's definitely safer.
Like right here, there's you probably could get a hit on him after you do enough karate dodges, but that's not really the safest way to do it because he's going to immediately launch another one. And unless if you hit him before it goes through, then you're probably going to get hit, you know?
Nice.
It's one of those sorts of things. So yeah, it wasn't that close, but that did take me quite a few tries. I edited it out. If you notice the beginning of the part, there was a little awkward editing there. That's because I had to cut around the fish talking. I think it was at the end of the attempt that I had done before that, and so things were a little wonky there.
What the unholy mother of...
He's got anchor arms!
Now I'm a jerk, and everybody loves me.
I'm going to follow him into my head. I mean, into my robot version's head, which is like my head.
You've been inside your own head, SpongeBob.
Oh yeah, there is an episode where Plankton controls SpongeBob's brain, if I remember correctly.
After he tapes it down because it rolls around.
Calls for with a mediocre clarinet player.
Mediocre. I remember that being a really early episode too.
Yeah, it was season 1.
It was season 1? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was the first episode of Plankton, wasn't it?
I think so.
It might have been, actually, yeah.
I really like a platformer that has a good, final confrontation that's, long and epic, as opposed to short and kind of an anticlimax at the end of the thing, which is like what most platforming bosses end up being.
Well, Mario specifically.
Well, not just
really
Mario, but Mario does a lot.
And then you get to the Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze problem where the boss fight just goes on way too long regardless.
Yeah, that too. I was a really big fan of Sonic 2 and Sonic 3 and Knuckles for their final bosses because of how multi-tiered and important they ended up feeling. Like, even if the game had no story, they felt like important story moments.
Yeah. The only thing about Sonic 2, at the very least, is that as Sonic 3, this is less of an issue because the ending of Sonic 3 does definitely feel like an epic affair, and it is because it's basically half of Sonic and Knuckles is the ending. So that's cool and stuff. But in Sonic 2, I do like the final encounter with, oh god, what's the name of that Metal Sonic?
Silver Sonic.
Silver Sonic.
Whatever one it is. Like, you have to do both that and the Egg Robo fight at once without getting hit at all.
Yeah,
which is a bit much, especially when you're almost out of lives and continues by
especially when you're the age I was when I played that the first time.
I didn't beat Sonic 2 until I was like, oh, I remember we were doing a race for something. I forget what race it was, what we were doing, but John, me, Clement, I forget who else was there, but we were all doing a race.
It was to raise we did that in Sonic 3 to raise awareness to bring Sonic 3 and Knuckles to mobile phones for it to get a Christian Whitehead port.
Oh, okay, that was it. Yeah. But we did that, and I didn't beat Sonic 2 until that race, and I had to use the cheat code in order to do it because I ran out of continues.
The thing about the Sonic 2 final boss is that it's got both final bosses in Sonic 2 actually have such obvious fixed patterns that once you have them memorized, you'll never get hit again. Ever.
The only problem is memorizing them because if you die enough, if you don't have enough lives left at the end, then you have to do the whole game again in order to...
But you see, the thing is, back then, every game was a game that you game overed at and then had to try again from the beginning, so it didn't really feel as weird for me to be doing that.
You say that, but like notoriously hard games like Castlevania and Ghosts and Goblins gave you infinite continues.
Yeah, not to mention...
So what's Sonic's excuse?
That's also something where, having played that on the Mega Collection, I was used to the 3D games before that, which were not nearly as hard. Like, Sonic Adventure and Adventure 2 are many things, but they're not difficult.
Yeah. The only possible curveball with Sonic 2's final boss, though, is that if you accidentally land behind the giant Robotnik robot, he'll launch bombs at you. It's like,
and there's kind of nothing you can do.
There's nothing you can do. Yeah, you're probably stuck in this really narrow space, so it's probably going to hit you. And it's just like, wow, he can do that? Where did that come from? You thought it was such a clever idea to let him land in front of you so that he couldn't shoot the spikes at you. No, he had he had an alternative attack method. Oh well. Ugh.
Yeah. And then there's Sonic 1, whose final boss is just kind of lame all around.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Yeah.
There's that. I mean, I am, I think, a fan of, in platformers, these sort of final bosses where the boss isn't a fight, but a challenge. I think it's like a platforming challenge. That's actually one of the things about 3D Land is far from one of my favorite Mario games, but I will say that it does have one of the best final confrontations in the Mario series where you're running away from Bowser.
Yeah, that's not exactly hard, but it is appreciated.
Yeah, because, I mean, as much as I love Mario Galaxy, both of the Mario Galaxy games...
The final bosses are jokes.
The final bosses suck. Really, all things considered. I mean, because in Galaxy 1, it's just the same fight again. And in Galaxy 2...
Let's just do 64 thing again.
Yeah. So, you know.
And then in Galaxy 2, you just kind of ground pound and win.
Yeah. It's over in like 3 seconds, so, you know. Honestly, I know a lot of people really like 3D World, and, I mean, sure, I guess I'm not particularly attached to that one, but I kind of felt that...
Mouser was really cool.
It was funny. Like, I appreciated the humor of it, but I didn't feel like it was climactic. I thought it was kind of like kind of a WTF sort of thing, more than anything else. Like, I think that when it comes to the enemies using your attacks against you, or power-ups against you, I think Wario and Mario Land 2 was a better version of that. Just, you know, less HD graphics-y. And also, you got that Wario sprite, which is just, like, one of the best things in the entire universe. So, you know, there's that.
And he throws a shoe at you when you beat him.
Who throws
Wait,
a shoe?
so Mario is the president of the United States? A game theory.
A game theory.
I mean, think about it. He ran for president for the marketing campaign of Mario Party 5.
The platform you were standing on popped out of existence.
Yeah, it did that earlier with the first phase of the boss battle.
Yeah.
The entire room kind of unloaded.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be there anymore, so they got rid of it. I really do wonder if the platforming area in this exists for this cutscene, or if it does, or if they unload it immediately.
I doubt it's there.
Well, Boundary Break actually not that long ago at the time of this recording did an episode for Battle for Bikini Bottom, so I'm going to need to watch it again, because I know that they did show off the final area of the game, so...
All my plans ruined. That does it. I'm becoming a lawyer.
Okay, Plankton. Good job there, buddy. So yeah, that's the end of the game. I do really like this one. I mean, I know I'm the only one here who has the sentimental value attached to it that makes this game worth more than, you know, just being another licensed game. Because, like, when it comes to licensed games, I feel like there are some that like DuckTales, for example. Like, I know a lot of people have an attachment to that game either because they love the show or they remember playing it when they grew up, but I don't know how people generally thought about, say, like, remastered if they weren't a fan of the show or of the original game beforehand, for example.
I didn't really like it, to be honest, and that was the first time I played it, so...
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really like it either because it had a lot of you had to jump in the air in order to make something appear, and then you had to jump in the air again in order for you to actually collect it, which was dumb. So, yeah, but it's just like, I know that, especially I think for a licensed property more than a lot of other games, if you don't care about the property, there's much less of a reason to play it. Like, this is a solid game all around, but I wouldn't say it's a must-play unless if you're a diehard SpongeBob fan.
That said, not being a SpongeBob fan, I will say I've seen enough charm in this game that if I were to play it, it might just sell me on SpongeBob.
Yeah, and I think that's an important thing too. Is that it was definitely made by people who cared about the show. So
Why am I getting Spyro flashbacks from this ending sequence?
Because of the fast-moving camera, I guess.
Floating around, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is actually, like, we were talking about this with the sponge ball. This is the kind of stuff they should have had you doing with the sponge ball in the main game, and not just rolling forward.
Oh yes, SpongeBob Pro Skater.
Can you actually play this as a normal area?
No, this is just an area designed this is an area designed for you to dig around in during the final credits sequence, really, and that's it. It's just for fun for you to have something to do during the credits sequence, which is appreciated, granted, but not really necessary. But it's like the only interesting gameplay that you do with the sponge ball, so yeah. But anyway, yeah, it's certainly a fun game, and I wouldn't not recommend it to somebody who isn't a fan of the show or hasn't seen the show or whatever, but I'd say being a fan of the show is what would put you over the edge into making it like a difference between a good game and like a great game, if that makes sense. Yeah.
You definitely benefit from being a fan of both, though. I mean, if you love SpongeBob and you love 3D platformers, then there's really no reason not to play this.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And I mean, there definitely has been a lot more love for 3D platformers, I think, these days than there has been in a while, because we've seen kind of the end of. We haven't seen a lot of 3D platformers since the mid 2000s, and now that stuff like Hat in Time and Yooka-Laylee and Mario Odyssey and all that are making the genre semi-popular again. I always figure like when a genre is getting something akin to a renaissance, it's a good chance to go back and discover some old games that you might have missed the first time around.
Yeah, so go back and play Bikini Bottom and Psychonauts and Ratchet and Clank.
Psychonauts, because Psychonauts 2 is coming out.
Oh yeah,
that's a thing that's happening.
Yeah, I actually have not played Psychonauts at all. That's on my to-do list. And Ratchet and Clank. I probably would have already gotten Ratchet and Clank if there was a PS4 collection of the original 3 games.
And you just pissed off Shade.
Yeah, I mean, no, Ratchet and Clank is a series I've been interested in years.
I know, I'm saying you think he's mad because you haven't played it yet.
Yeah, but the out of the PlayStation platformers.
Neither have I, but I don't give a shit.
Yeah. Like, I've said this a couple of times. Like, between the PlayStation platformers, Sly, Crash, Jak and Daxter, all never interested in me. But Spyro and Ratchet and Clank always have. So eventually I do. Now that I played Spyro with the Reignited trilogy, I guess Ratchet and Clank is next up. But
it's just too bad that the remake / reboot for Ratchet and Clank was so weak.
Yeah. So and I know that, so I want to play the originals, but there's only a PS3 version of the originals, not a PS4 version. So yeah, I have to.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Although I would recommend actually getting the PS2 version rather than the PS3 versions, if only because not only are there visual glitches, but the HD version of Ratchet and Clank 1 doesn't play the final boss music during the final boss.
What?
Oops.
Yeah, it doesn't play the final boss music during the final boss. I don't know why.
Oh, okay. That's a weird end to note. That's a weird note to end on, but okay.
It's more important than you think, because that final boss will kick your ass and you'll be listening to the dead silence for quite a long time in the HD version.